Hello, everyone. So, this is one of the biggest questions I get from the videos that I've done so far around anxiety. And the question is, and I'm sure it's on many of your lips or you've at least thought about it at some point, is when will I recover? So, when will you recover from the anxiety state? So, obviously, if you're suffering, and the reason perhaps why you're watching some of these videos is because you are experiencing the suffering that anxiety and panic and other things can bring, is because you want to get out of it. You want it to finish, you want it to end, and of course that's totally understandable. The problem with the question is that it engages in with anxiety in the way that I always encourage people not to. So it takes it very seriously. It makes the mind think that anxiety is so serious that it's something I need to desperately recover from. And of course, that feeds into the bluff of anxiety, which I've talked about in other videos. So the first thing is, if that's on your mind and you're understandably trying to figure out when will recovery happen, is to try and look at some of the other videos or boost your knowledge about what anxiety is and what it isn't. Because if you really understand it, all it is a bit of adrenaline or a bit of stress hormone cortisol that we're reacting to. That's all it is. It feels awful at the time, as we know, but it's not serious. So I encourage you to boost your knowledge there. The other thing, and the other paradox with this stuff, is that we have to be patient with time. Recovery takes as long as it needs to take, but recovery doesn't necessarily have to equate to happiness. So you can be happy, at peace, along the way. So every time you see through a moment, a difficult moment, a slow drip of adrenaline, a surge of anxiety, a surge of adrenaline that results in a bit of panic, every time you see the moment through, you go loose, you use the floating method that I've talked about, that just helps you build mini recovery moments. So every time you see it through, you let the adrenaline do what it needs to do, you welcome in the unwanted thoughts, the what ifs. Every time you do that, you're having these mini recovery moments, and you can probably reflect on your own experience that you've had relief. So you always get relief from how you feel. And when you feel the relief, everything feels fine. And so you can get plenty of these moments along the way, along the journey to recovery, and still be very happy. So in my experience, I got happy far or long before I actually, technically recovered. So you don't really need to worry about recovery. It will take as long as it takes, but it doesn't necessarily equate to happiness. So you don't have to worry about that. People also ask, when will I know I have recovered? Or how do you know when you've actually recovered? And the way I tend to answer it is that you have recovered when you no longer need to recover in order to be happy. So again, it's a bit of a paradox. Once we really start to understand what anxiety is, we take the fear, the bluff away from it, recovery becomes less important. I can totally understand why we get fixated, particularly early on when we're learning about what it is, when we're in the middle of suffering. We haven't maybe got the tools that I talk about to deal with it. It's totally understandable, but it does become less relevant the more practice we get. Because life is going to have stress. Recovering from anxiety doesn't mean we're not going to experience stress or difficult moments. Emotions are part of the human experience, so they're going to go up and down. But focusing on recovery is actually not necessary in order to be happy. So I hope that helps just give you a bit of confidence around putting that thought to one side. And if you feel that you need to boost your knowledge around anxiety to take some of the mystery away from it, which might help, I encourage you to do that. I wish you all the very best.